weekend in this 4-color Saheeli build. So many different ways you can go about building this deck. So see how Ted does with his build. He's 10-3 right now, still very much in top 8 competition.
And Ted is really leaning into the Aetherworks Marble element of this deck. It's not just an incidental energy package. He's playing 3 copies of Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. So he is really exploring the energy theme alongside Saheeli Rai.
I'm happy with the changes to Standard. I can say that with some confidence now. You know, bannings shake up some things in a big way. New set shakes up some things in a big way. But no more Embercools, no more Copters, no more Reflector Mages, which is, to me, the least fun to play against of the 3 cards, personally. But, you know, we just get to see some new stuff that we didn't get to see beforehand. I'm pretty excited about that.
This format looks really fruitful for exploration. I think it is still reasonable to be concerned about how much of the format is going to be warped around Saheeli Rai, Felidar Guardian, but we have seen a lot of new decks. And I think first of all, Aether Revolt's a very powerful set, and we're seeing a lot of new cards. But I think the 3 cards that were banned, and you can argue about whether or not you should have bannings in Standard and all that kind of stuff, but they definitely crowded out a lot of potential cards in the format. And we're seeing, you know, cards like Mind Rack Demon and Revolutionary Rebuff and a couple other cards that I think just wouldn't have cut it in the previous format. Even if we had the Aether Revolt come in, if those 3 cards had been legal, I think a lot of those cards would be still sitting on the sidelines.
Well, these players are going to take a look at their opening hands. And then we'll have play underway here. Again, remember, round 14 to 15. 2 players locked in the top 8 already, and Brennan DeCandio and Robert Gray, so congratulations to them. We've got to figure out who the other 6 are going to be, and it could be one of these 2 if they're able to go win-win the next couple of rounds. Make sure you do give us a follow over at twitch.tv/SCGTour. New year, new Twitch page. And then, of course, at SCGTour over on Twitter. You can also join in on the conversation all weekend long. Hashtag SCGCOL. As it looks like Ted Felicetti is going to take a mulligan, and Julian John is going to keep his opening hand.
So I've been critical of the 4-color Saheeli decks in a couple ways. And the biggest criticism that I have is the deck generates a lot of energy, and the deck generates a lot of mana, and it doesn't seem to have enough payoffs for those 2 resources. Ted Felicetti is, maybe he identified the same problem, maybe he's just trying to do his own thing here, but noteworthy 4 copies of Aetherworks Marble and 3 copies of Ulamog, and given the games that I've watched of this Saheeli deck thus far, I wouldn't be surprised if Felicetti has hard cast those Ulamog several times over the course of the tournament.
That's in play. It's in play. See if Ted can find 6 cards that he's happy with. Happy enough, we're underway here. He'll start things off with a Forest. Julian John with a Concealed Courtyard and a Toolcraft Exemplar. Defining the terms of engagement right away. A Servant of the Conduit here from Felicetti is going to bring his energy count up to 3 when we head back over to Julian. Julian will draw a card.
And it looks like Felicetti already has the combo rolled up. Does not have the requisite mana here, but he has a Tomb with Aether, Felidar Guardian, and Saheeli Rai. Plus an Ulamog as plan B. should the combo be broken up, then we go to plan B.
It's always good to have a plan B. Hub the draw step, energy on the way. Here's Felidar Guardian. Gonna have to use an energy to use it.
But he gets to break out the Servant of the Conduit and actually net 1 for his trouble.
Back over to Julian, we're gonna go. Hope he's got a removal spell. Yep, Decoration in Stone.
Very important to have there, and now Felicetti's hand substantially worse.
Yes. Ted will trade with the Scrap Heap Scrounger. 3 damage will come across here from the Toolcraft Exemplar. John will play, looks like a Prairie Stream. And simply pass the turn back over to Felicetti. Felicetti will play in a Tune with Aether. Get a basic island. I believe that'll be his land drop for the turn. And perhaps we'll see Saheeli Rai this turn as well.
Saheeli Rai feels like a pretty safe play here because even if John is able to follow up with an artifact, Saheeli will still have 1 loyalty left over.
And there is Saheeli. Up to 4, scry 1. And Julian John will take a point of damage. So now we go over to Julian John, who will untap and draw. And we'll see what he's able to find in just a moment.
I think we're just making sure we got the energy count right.
Indeed.
I believe he
easy
has,
to track.
I believe he has generated 8 and spent 2, so 6 looks right to me.
Yeah, 1 white for the Felidar Guardian and a red for the Saheeli. Yeah, and he made 8 because he blinked out the Servant of the Conduit at one point.
And played 2 hubs.
Yep.
Yeah. So we look good.
Toolcraft Exemplar is going to come in and deal Saheeli 3 because an artifact has been made via Thraben Inspector. Saheeli's going to go up to 2. Scry 1. That card will stay on top. It's a forest. It's a Cloud Blazer. Energy will be used to play that. Draw 2. One of them is a Marvel. And now we don't actually know if this was going to resolve. I think Ted may have drawn a little bit quickly here.
Yeah, because there is the requisite mana and an artifact for Metallic Rebuke. So
Sure.
John could have an answer here.
Sure.
Also, Revolutionary Rebuff. There are counters he could have.
Yeah, I think he assumed that he was just going to get to be able to resolve this.
Well, there could have been some communication there because it looked like Felicetti did pause for a moment. But this is huge. I mean, and the Cloud Blazer here now allows Saheeli Rai to do something, and if it gets countered, then Felicetti's hand is just an Ulamog. The Saheeli dies, so this is big. So a lot of this just depends on the communication that took place, and we will get resolution on that in a moment.
And table spotter there, Casey Brefka. We will find our ruling here in just a moment as the players do have conversation.
And it's also important because from Felicetti's perspective, if John counters this Cloud Blazer, his hand's an Ulamog. He has no board except for a clue.
Yeah, we might be all set.
Right.
We'll see. Ted's first draw, which is pretty easy to track. I mean, also we can do it here in the booth. It was an Ulamog.
No, it was Aetherworks Marvel. He had the Ulamog
No,
before.
so Ulamog is the card that he had left over.
Yeah. His leftover was an Ulamog.
Yeah. So we'll see exactly how this is going to be backed up. We'll come back to the booth for right now. As these players will sort things out. There might be a bit of a reshuffle, all that stuff, and as soon as we continue play, we'll let you know, because it's not fun to watch that when you can watch us here in the booth, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, as we keep our eye on the ruling that will take place there. But you felt that this version of 4-color Saheeli mixing in Aetherworks Marvel, just simply because it's a very powerful card. Not seeing a ton of that this weekend.
No, and there's so many moving parts in the deck, and as a consequence of this, if you look at the list here, 2 Cloud Blazers, 3 Felidar Guardians, 3 Woodweezer, Puzzle Knot, 3 copies of Saheeli, right? There's a lot of shaving down that's taking place. Now, Aetherworks Marvel covers you to some extent because it's finding the cards you're missing to piece the combo together. But to fit all of this in, he's really got to cram down on the 4 ofs he has in the list.
Yeah, I mean, the deck list just ends up looking a little bit strange with what's going on.
Yep.
You know, you've got Ulamogs and all these other various things. So
Yep.
we're ready to go back to the match as now we have a final ruling. So down there we go. Cloud Blazer did not resolve. He got countered by something. We'll find out what it is in just a moment as we go back down to the match. Probably Metallic Rebuff. Yep, it's in the graveyard.
Yep.
So the communication issue has been taken care of. And now Julian going to give some beatdowns. So here you ride down. 3-Win Inspector will come across here for 1.
But I really like Julian John's matchup here as a consequence of Felicetti trying to glue together all these different things.
Ted draws a Marvel, I believe. I'm going to start by sacrificing a clue.
Modern Classic players, welcome to round 6. The current time is 2:16.
So the way to satisfy what happened there on the previous turn, just so that you're all aware at home, a random card was taken from Ted's hand, since he drew a card when he wasn't supposed to, placed it back on top of his deck. So the deck hadn't been changed or anything like that, the order, stuff like that. So we're clear.
Yep, everything's good.
Yep. Archangel Avacyn among the other things right now in Julian John's hand. You'll note he is lacking an artifact for his Toolcraft Exemplar.
So I was a little curious to see him sacrifice the clue there, but you know, he's been missing land drops, and so getting to land number 4 and beyond is valuable. But I think he's happy right now to just to sit on Spell Queller.
Evolving Wilds, the draw here for Ted. He's going to try a Felidar Guardian.
And I would imagine this is an effort to bleed out the spell queller that Felicetti is playing around here.
Felicetti's going to sacrifice Evolving Wilds right away. Get a land.
Though I'm a little curious by the sacking of Evolving Wilds. If the plan here is to resolve Aetherworks Marvel the next turn, I'd rather keep the Evolving Wilds, so then you get energy number 6 straight away.
Sure, makes sense.
If he drew some sort of 6, if there's some other consideration, that's different. But from my perspective, he's short of an energy to activate the Aetherworks Marvel that turn, and I would just keep the Evolving Wilds. And yeah, at the end, it's just Ulamog plus. Oh, if he went down to 4 energy, then that's different. I still would err towards keeping the Evolving Wilds, but I think at 5 it's a no-brainer to keep.
Well, Oath of Nissa appears to be the draw now, so he'll start there. And Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, Guardian of Thraben, Heretic Cathar. So many Thalias. Thalia, Heretic Cathar was the play post-combat for Julian John. And we're all set here, maybe. I think he may have just flat missed.
Yep.
That's tough to do. Here's a Marvel pass the turn back. Ted is facing 3, 4, 5. I think he might be facing lethal.
An artifact gets it there. Oh, no, it's just lethal straight up.
It's just lethal.
Yeah, it's lethal on the table. You're right.
Unless we're missing something here. We'll find out. There's a land. Well, there's an artifact now.
All right. Just a little insurance. That's fine.
Here's an attack for a whole bunch. Yeah, we're all set. Ted just making him kill him. No concessions. I can appreciate that. Julian John's going to win game number 1 here over Ted Felicetti. Esper Aggro, 4-color Saheeli, getting ready to go here to game number 2. We'll start with Felicetti's sideboard, where he's got 3 Tireless Tracker, 3 Radiant Flames, 2 Authority of the Councils, 2 Negate, 2 Spell Callers of his own, a Dispel, a World Breaker, and a Fumigate.
So I really like the 3 copies of Radiant Flames and the Fumigate. I think those are the best cards in the sideboard here. I'm also interested in the 1 copy of World Breaker. It's still a powerful thing to hit off of Aetherworks Marvel. It's realistically castable in a way that Ulamog is probably not in this matchup. And the mixture of stats plus reach, it makes it for a very good blocker.
Other side of things here for Julian. He's got 2 Selfless Spirit, 2 Blessed Alliance, 2 Fumigate, 2 Spell Shrivel, a Fragmentize, a Ceremonious Rejection, a Negate, a Gisela, the Broken Blade, a Quarantine Field, and Always Watching, another copy of Archangel Avacyn.
So I like the Selfless Spirits as sort of a preemptive measure against the sweepers that you can assume Felicetti is bringing in here. And I also like the 2 copies of Spell Shrivel as just an efficient counterspell for fighting over the powerful 4s and 5s that are in Felicetti's deck. The 1 Negate also. Beyond that, there are arguments for cards like Quarantine Field and Ceremonious Rejection now that you've seen Aetherworks Marvel as part of the strategy here. It just depends how many weak or underperforming cards he thinks he has.
Well, those are the options there for both players. And now we take a moment to talk about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale, where only a little bit longer, because it's almost Monday East Coast time at 10:59, you can get up to 50% off of some beautiful full art basic lands.
And head over to StarCityGames.com and check out the weekly sale every week. New one goes up Monday 11 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure to be going back at least once a week to see what the new sale is. And for a couple more hours, you can get up to 50% off full art basic lands.
We'll have a new sale for you on Monday, 11 a.m. East Coast time, but do take advantage of the one that we do have available for you right now. As we see some sideboarding here between John and Felicetti. Esper Aggro, 4-color Saheeli. Seen a lot of 4-color Saheeli. The mana's good in this format.
It is.
At least it feels that way.
I like the space that Felicetti is exploring here quite a bit too. As I mentioned, just the how energy flooded these 4-color Saheeli decks have felt at times makes Aetherworks Marvel pretty natural inclusion, I think. So I'm very interested in exploring this path.
Well, you see the 5 next to Felicetti's name. He is 5th on our SCG Tour rankings right now. So we learned a little bit more about the 32-year-old from Sugarloaf, PA. Multiple loafs.
Mm-hmm.
There's the one where Reed Duke and the Boz are from, and there's the other loaf.
Mm-hmm.
3 open top 8s with 1 open win. He won his open in Richmond at the end of last year. I know because I was his loss, he defeated me in the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't just beat me.
Yes.
I got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. He's the booking agent for the Atari, Screeching Weasel, the Queens, and Richie Ramone, among other bands. Lives at a funeral home, which is, yep.
Sure.
That's scary.
Self-explanatory.
And performed for 8 consecutive years on the Vans Warped Tour, a concert I've attended multiple times.
I do not think I ever made it out
I
to the
would
Warped
be
Tour.
shocked if you went to the Warped Tour.
That's not true. Me in my late teens, early 20s, that would have been all right.
You were angsty then?
I mean, I'm angsty now. I just hide it better. got older, whatever, you know.
I can't see you clapping and singing along to these emo-based songs.
Oh no, no, but that wasn't all the Warped Tour was.
That's a lot of what it is.
Maybe now.
That's
Maybe
a lot
now.
of what it is.
Maybe now. I mean, going now strikes me as preposterous, but there are times in my, like I said, my late teens, early 20s where I would have been interested in going.
Well, I won't go now because I just feel like I'm too old to go. It's a young person's game now.
Yep.
I've realized that I turned 30 last year, and I never thought that I would say like, oh, this is a young person's thing, like Snapchat.
So
that's a young person's thing.
So this is the evolution that you will go through.
Oh, teach me.
Is I think I'm too old to do this.
Okay.
And then it becomes, I know I'm too old to do this.
Got it. Okay. Because I know I'm too old to go to Warped Tour. I think I'm too old to use Snapchat.
So I don't know. Snapchat has a variety of utilities.
It's ridiculous. I just don't understand the appeal of like 10-second videos that disappear forever.
You don't?
I mean, I get it. I get it.
That's real easy for me to understand.
I get it. No, I get it. I just don't want anything to do with it. That's all. Ooh, the Botanical Sanctum into Inspiring Vantage Star. One of my favorites.
Tropical Island Plateau, second time this weekend we've seen it.
One of my favorite starts. Felicetti with a Heart of Kirin after his 3-minute Inspector. Here's another Botanical Sanctum. And we are ramping into a Felidar Guardian. More energy here for Ted. He's up to 3. And again, he could just combo off next turn if the cards line up right. Julian John with a little bit of a slower start this game.
And it looks like a negate in Felicetti's hand too, so
can protect the Saheeli.
May be able to do it with backup.
Okay. Prairie Stream enters the battlefield tapped, as it oftentimes does. As Felicetti will draw a forest. That will be his land for the turn. Now he'll play an Oath of Jace. That is a card that Julian John wants to take a look at because he might try to counter this. Oath of Jace, when it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards and you discard 2 in the beginning of your upkeep. You can scry X, where X is the number of planeswalkers you control. The second line of text doesn't come up a ton. Most people are playing it for the first line. Felicetti has drawn 3. Now he's deciding which 2 he's going to discard. Attune with Ether and Ether Hub will go to the graveyard.
I think they're all small pieces of the puzzle. I mean, it is definitely primarily about draw 3, discard 2, but it is also a permanent for Felidar Guardian. It is there are Saheeli Rai and other planeswalkers, and what's been cool about watching the Saheeli Rai decks is because it interacts the deck structurally interacts so well with permanents that we see a lot of people playing cards like the Oaths, and if you ask them why are you playing this, it's kind of all the pieces. Maybe if you were without one of them, maybe the card would be a little bit short of showing up.
I love how well Heart of Kirin plays with Metallic Rebuke. You know, you can play a Scrounger.
I don't know if I love it. I mean,
I think it's cool.
It's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing with the Heart of Kirin deck, I'm loving it.
It's powerful.
And that's the kind of card I would play with. You know, get to attack for 4, and now I got this Rebuke up. That's actually just kind of a mana leak at this stage. And for Felicetti, you know, he's got a tracker, he's got a clue, he's got some things going on, but at the end of the day, can he take down this 4/4 Vigilant Flyer?
He's got a lot of resources to work with, a lot of mana, and if he ever draws Saheeli, he gets to do that with negate backup, which is likely to be game over.
Fired in there.
But you are correct. He's got to find some sort of answer to this flyer. And he's got to be able to punch through whatever counter wall John is building towards as well.
Here's a Thraben Inspector. Clue coming as well. Just trying to figure out how to tap for it. Going to use Prairie Stream instead of Concealed Courtyard. Leave the black mana available, I imagine, for Scrap Heap Scrounger in case it dies. So Felicetti will sacrifice his clue, put a counter on his tracker, and draw a card. Now here's a Spire Bluff Canal. Another clue here for the tracker.
Also another thing to keep in mind here is Felicetti is now, I believe, up to 7 mana and has Ulamog in hand. So that's another way for him to answer the situation too.
Ulamog or Worldbreaker?
I believe Ulamog. If it's Worldbreaker, that's even better.
Yeah, I see Worldbreaker.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. I see Rogue Refiner. There might be an Ulamog hanging out there. I'm almost positive there's a Worldbreaker hanging out there. He's got some expensive stuff to do. How about that?
But that's even better because getting this, he's already at 7. He's good to go.
Felicetti going to crack a clue, draw a card. Picked up a Oath of Nissa. Here's a Servant of the Conduit. And that is going to be hit by a Spell Queller potentially. Yes.
I mean, Spell Queller is kind of bad news here, as now there's 6 points of damage coming across in the air with Felicetti at 12. The upshot is he's playing towards World Breaker.
Yeah, which is a card Julian, I think, has a real problem with.
Yes.
Crew up. Get in for 6. Felicetti's going to fall down to 6. An obvious weakness to flyers in Ted's deck.
Yeah.
Pass the turn back. Felicetti's going to untap. He'll draw. Tireless Tracker. That doesn't help a ton. He's already got one of those. It's kind of all in on World Breaker here, it feels like. Energy. 7 mana. There's World Breaker. There is a cast trigger, of course. That's going to take care of Heart of Kieran, I think we'll see here in just a moment.
Mm-hmm. But it's fine here for Felicetti to pause, because Summary Dismissal is a card that John could easily have in this spot.
Surprising lack of Eldrazi in the standard format with World Breaker and Thought Not Seer and Reality Smasher, Displacer. Just don't see very much of them anymore. At least not yet. They're very powerful cards. You got to work for them, though.
Yep.
Is World Breaker in is the question. Because if it is, Julian John's in some trouble. Well, maybe not in that much trouble. There's Archangel Avis.
This is still 6 points in the air if you can find an answer to the World Breaker.
Yeah, Declaration Stone would do it. So would Reflector Mage. I think he just drew Declaration. Actually.
Yeah, I think we're right about done here.
Yeah, I think he actually did just draw Declaration. Yep. Yeah, that does that. Julian John making it look easy here with his Esper Aggro deck, taking down Ted Felicetti. 2 games to 0. Esper Aggro. You got to take care of 4 colors Saheeli. Well, things being honest, I think that's just a pretty bad matchup for Ted.
Getting out in front early on in the game and having a wall of counter spells and flash threats, I think is a really good recipe against the 4-color Saheeli decks in general. I think it's even better against Felicetti's deck that's playing with Aetherworks Marvel as well, and just a pretty easy 2-0 win. I mean, it wasn't the easiest. I thought World Breaker had a shot of stabilizing the game there, but Archangel Avison backed up by another removal spell, able to punch across the last 6 points.
That's just some straightforward, pretty simple stuff.
And I saw it in Felicetti's hand. He brought in Negate, and I understand that there are spells in the other deck